Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Political Theater, everybody. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. If we are, hold on a second, just getting the space up and running now. Guys, thank you guys for being here. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. We've got a lot of updates when we're going through the Somali fraud investigation. It was an interesting weekend. Obviously, we've still got a lot to talk about when it comes to Minnesota, but there's a key bit of information that came out today that I need to make sure everyone is aware of. So we're going to make sure we get into that, and we're going to get into a whole lot more of that. If you guys are joining us on YouTube, Rumble, Substack, wherever you guys may be tuning in tonight, guys, I appreciate everyone who shows up here. Before we even get rolling, though, make sure you guys put a link, share the link out, make sure everyone knows that we are live. We've got a lot to go over this evening. There's a very interesting update that's come out of Minnesota, so make sure you share the link out. And if you got something to say, leave me a comment down below. I do try to read all the comments throughout the show and throughout the link, throughout the program. If you guys have anything to say, you can always put comments down below, and I do read them out during the show and put them up on the screen and everything else. If you guys are just now joining us in the space, thanks for being here, guys. This is Political Theater. I'm Walter Kurt. So let's get into what I want to talk about tonight, which is the administration is listening. They are absolutely listening to what we're saying about the Somalia investigation, and they're paying attention, and they're actually getting real action on it, which is fantastic. It is fantastic. I'm seeing a new update as of today. They actually did seize money from the from the Minnesota airport. They seized money today, and it was undeclared cash that they seized. And that's incredibly important for what we've been talking about on the show, for anybody who's been paying attention to the investigation, everything we've been talking about. The fact that they seized undeclared cash is crucial. That means that we were right, that they were moving money through without declaring it, and we don't know how much. So they only seized a couple $1,000s today. Now, it was like, 15 grand or something like that. But the amount is pretty much irrelevant. It doesn't matter how much money it is. That means that they've been trying to do this, and they have been doing this without anybody noticing it. So the amount of money going through that airport, we suspected that it would be significantly higher than the amount that they found, the $700 million number. That's the big headline number. Oh my goodness, they're bringing millions of dollars through that airport, sure. But the problem is, it's not that money that we need to be, the ones that we know about is hardly the problem. The real problem is the ones that we don't know about. The real money is the ones that we have never heard of before, that we don't know how much is actually there. That's what we need to figure out. And the fact that they're after it today, they're in the airport, they're paying attention, this is good news. This is really good news. That means that the administration is paying very close attention to this. They're absolutely all over it, which is great. That means that the investigation is doing well. For those who missed the article that I put out over the weekend, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how the structure on this thing was built, how they actually managed to build out the system that allowed them to create the fraud in the first place. Where did it come from? Who started it? Who was behind it? Where did it all come from? Essentially, what I ended up doing, and you guys may have seen, I think it was on Sean Ryan's show, a guy named Steve Robinson, who's from Maine. He's been another guy that I've been talking to when it comes to this investigation. And what he did was he came up with a program and actually wrote a software that was designed to scrape government databases for URLs that he couldn't figure out or he couldn't find. So they actually built a program that did it. And that's actually when it ended up happening. He scrapes this thing out, and he figured out there was he was going after no competition grants and no competition contracts, essentially. That's what he was looking for. But it gave me a brilliant idea, and I don't know why I hadn't thought of it. Why don't I build something that can do the same sort of thing, and I can look for specific documents within the U.S. government from specific agencies and see where it's all going? Well, so that's exactly what I did. I spent that entire day, most of the day yesterday, building a software that was specifically designed to do that, and I made one work, and I got it up and running, and I scraped the entire U.S. government for everything that exists when it comes to Office of Refugee Resettlement. Now, the reason I did that, the reason I was going after the Office of Refugee Resettlement, I haven't talked about this yet, but essentially all of the grants that were going to these different programs, so we're funneling them into the Somalian fraud investigation. Why were they doing that? Where did they come from? Well, it turns out that back in the 80s, in the early 80s, we came up with a new system of how we were going to set up refugee settlement. Refugee resettlement was changed then, and it was under a group called or it was an act called the Wilson-Fish Act, and it was designed so that they could have humanitarian organizations and humanitarian grants be administered and managed by humanitarian organizations. Now, that's, when they came up with the concept, it kind of made sense. The government maybe not involved with it, whatnot. This is in the 80s. It's not the same sort of concept. But of course, when you change the incentives in the government structure, things start to shift around. And that's what happened. So if you want, and if you go watching through it, so I scraped all this data out of the Office of Refugee Resettlement. I scraped every file I possibly could, and then loaded that file into a model so it could actually read and see what it was, because it's thousands of files, essentially tens of thousands of files. So I scrape all this out and I pull it out, and I tell a model that I was working with, an AI model. I said, okay, now I need to know the development. I want to know how the Office of Refugee Resettlement changed over the years, what changed in it, and who had the most effect on it, essentially changing it. So Clinton was the first one that really changed the system so that it would open it up to different groups. And that includes third world countries, that includes all these different places. But it was really, and he did some of this, but it was really Obama. And that shouldn't be surprising to anybody. Obama essentially opened the floodgates to every single system that exists when it comes to, bringing in more refugees here. He was the one that raised the refugee ceiling super high. He's the one that really came up with this whole idea. But more importantly than that, Obama took the Wilson-Fish Act, which is a 1980-something act, and he took that act and then made it so that it was essentially all of the refugee grants, 90+% of them, were then managed and administered by NGOs. Now, that is where you find the system that we're talking about here. We've been talking about for a while, how did they build this system? How did they come up with it? Where did it come from? What did they do to create it? Who came up with it? Because it's not the Somalis who came up with this. Everybody's aware of that, okay? No one believes that the Somali people came up with this brilliant, international fraud scheme that they managed to, fleece money out of the country and then fly it all over the world. They didn't come up with it, okay? We know that. We're very, very, very well aware of that fact, okay? But they did work with the Obama administration, which opened the floodgates and made these NGOs set up this structure for them in the first place. So Obama's system essentially created the network that allowed this fraud system to be scaled out. Now, he increased the budget of the Office of Refugee Resettlement from about $600 million to almost $1.8 billion in the time that he was in office. So the budget for that office grew dramatically. But not only that, I was just talking just a few moments ago with Insurrection Barbie, for those who follow that account on here. She's also been talking about these NGO structures. And essentially what she found is that the same idea where they moved all the grant money from being placed from government grants, where they're the ones administering it, to letting NGOs administer those grants, this same structure was created across not just the Office of Refugee Resettlement, but almost every single section of our government that has anything to do with humanitarian effort. So the same structure was built out by Obama. He set it up so that he can move the money around, let NGOs administer the grants. And the key for the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which is crucial to what we're talking about, is that it was then managed by the refugees themselves, which is kind of a problem. Okay, which is kind of a problem when the refugees, they're the ones giving themselves grants for programs that are supposed to come from the U.S. tax dollars. Well, that's kind of an issue, you would think. But not to them. To them, the idea was, well, now we've got a whole structure built. We've got a whole system set up so the refugees run it, the refugees get the money, and the refugees do whatever we tell them with it so that they can keep accessing the money. And of course, they're incentivized to do so because it's all government money. It's not theirs in the first place. So that's where we got into the point where I wrote the article that was Obama's third world fraud scheme. Now, that's essentially Obama's third world fraud ring is what I called the name of the article. And it's worth reading if you guys haven't read it yet. It's not that long. It's about 1,1700 words, something like that. But it's worth reading because that really explains it a lot better than I'll be able to do in just a short section here on the show. The entire effort by Obama to be able to do this, be able to build the structure out. And now it all makes sense. Where it came from, why we can't figure it out, why it's been going on for so long is because it was literally built into the system that Obama expanded. He expanded it under a couple of different acts, actually, and he actually did it specifically under one of the acts that was designed to supposedly support, anti-child trafficking is one of the acts that he used to create this system. And it's the same concept, but he just built it out over top of the NGOs, and the NGOs then administer everything. So that's where the money in the network moves. And the question then becomes, again, where are we going to get this cash at that they're getting at? And that's where we're at in the investigation now. Again, we're back to where we were at the cash. I understand the structure now. I understand everything pretty much, how it's built, how the money moves, why it was built, and who built it. That is crucial to understanding where everything moves. But now we got to figure out where the cash itself is at. And that, I think, is what the administration is all over, because they seem to be very, very in tune to this, which I think is excellent. The fact that they seized money today is a big deal. It is a big deal that they actually seized money today, because that means they're looking for it. And if they're looking for the cash, I think they're going to find a lot more of it than just the $15,000 that they seized today in the Minneapolis airport. And they should, if they're listening to any of the stuff that we're talking about, don't just look at Minneapolis. Look at any airport that has a significant international group that runs within the airport. So Minneapolis happens to have 1,000 Somalis that work there, and there's like 2,500 East Africans that work there in that airport. But it should be significantly higher than that, because we got to go look at all the other airports and see where all of the money's moving for all of the different groups across the country, because the amount of money that's being pumped out of the system and being sent overseas is got to be in the tunes of billions of dollars. And on that note, specifically, Kristi Noem came out earlier today and said that she is estimating the amount of fraud at $19 billion now. So the original number when we first started looking at it was like something like 2 or 3 billion. And then they said, well, no, it's going to be 8 or 9 billion. Well, now Kristi Noem is saying it's upwards of $19 billion. And the question is, where is all that money going? Because I guarantee you what we're going to find as we continue through this investigation is it's going to go out and it's going to come right back in. That's what I think is happening with most of it. Now, some of it's obviously being used to pay the people that are muling the money around, but I'm telling you right now, I'll bet you a significant portion of that money comes right back here. And the other problem is, once you have cash, and if you say they're sending out that $700 million in cash, well, what about the other half of it? Because there's going to be a lot more than $700 million. And the problem is, when you have the cash, you don't know where the cash, what the original amount was, right? You don't know how much cash they had initially to be able to then send this out. Well, we don't know how much money they have. That cash can be anywhere. It can be moved in all sorts of different places. It can be moved all over the country. It can be done all the sorts of different ways without having to declare and moving it out of the country. Who knows what they did with it, which is what we're going to be looking into next. So I think, again, to me, the physical cash aspect of it and the amount that they did, I think that's crucial. I think that's crucial because that's going to be the downfall of this whole system. The fact that they got so greedy, and it's kind of comical, because this is a very similar thing they did with the EPA. This is a very similar thing they did with a number of different programs. Everyone remembers the Stacey Abrams fact that she had some little NGO that had like $100 in it or something like that, and then suddenly got a $2 billion grant. And it was supposed to, move refrigerators or some shit around. I mean, it was a completely nonsense, system. But this is the same concept. It's how they're moving the money around. They're pushing it into the NGOs, and they're letting the grants be administered by the NGOs themselves. And that's a huge problem. That is a huge problem. And I think now they're onto the fact that not only were they doing that, they got greedy. And I think they got greedy because they knew when Trump came in, they didn't know what they were going to do. So they just started funneling the money out as fast as they possibly could, because they needed to have the excess cash. And I think that's really what happened. I think they saw, oh no, Trump's going to end up winning this election. We're going to have to get the money out as fast as we can. Up the money going out, up it up, up it up, it up it up. I mean, then Minneapolis became a perfect place for it, because they own they control the entire state government there. So they had the ability to do that. Plus they had an airport that they knew that was run by the Somalian groups, so they could funnel the cash out of there easier. So that, I think, is what the biggest part about this is that it was obviously set up, built, and designed by the Obama administration, flushed out even further underneath the Biden administration. And when they realized that Trump was going to come in and they were about to get the money spigot shut off, then they panicked a bit and they started getting sloppy. And I think that's where we get the $700 million in cash from. I think that's sloppy. I think that's the way that they were doing it before was probably a little bit slower, but they realized, oh no, we've got to get this stuff out of here. So they just started sending Somalis through the airport with $3 million bags of cash. And they just assumed no one would catch it, but now we have caught it. And now we're on to the fact that where's that source from? Where is the cash source from? And that's the most crucial part of all of this. So that's what we're going to be heading into next. And make sure, everybody, if you guys want to keep part of this investigation, make sure you get a subscribe on WCDispatch.com. Everybody who's joined in on YouTube, Substack, Rumble, wherever you guys may be tuning in, thanks for being here, guys. Let's get into the rest of the show here. I'm going to bring in my co-host. We've got Chris Marino here on the show. What is happening, Chris? Let's see if I can get the actual thing to work. There we go. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Just got back from my big old B-Day celebration. Turned the big 45, and
happy birthday, buddy.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's I officially tomorrow I turn 45, but
well, what the hell? I can't wish you a birthday when it's not your birthday. What the hell's the matter with you?
Maybe this show will go to midnight and we can celebrate.
No, maybe we might keep the space open a little bit longer. I don't know. I've got to fly tomorrow. I got a long day tomorrow. I got a bunch of stuff I got to do. I'm gonna end up in DC tomorrow. So, by the way, guys, it'll be a video show tomorrow night. We're not going to do a space tomorrow night, just so everyone is aware. Video show only tomorrow night. You can always find the video show on WCDispatch.com, or you can find it on X. Obviously, we broadcast everywhere that we can.
Walter.
So, yes. What's up, Jacktron?
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but if you're going to DC, you need to make sure that you pay a stop to John Thune's office.
John Thune's office? No, I don't need to go see John Thune. That's the last person that I want to talk to be honest with you. I do not like that man.
So I heard your monologue, and I heard you mention Stacey Abrams and all these other folks, and this is just crazy, man. At this point in time, but do you guys remember when she I think she created a book, she got a book deal, and not very many people bought the book, so they had they fronted her like all this money, and like they always do with all these folks with their shady book deals.
Well, we've talked about the book deal problem many times before, but yes, yeah. I mean, for those who are unaware of the book deal issue, this is something that Chris and I think it might really just be us that have talked about this, Chris, but the concept that their book deals are run by, it's not real. Like, no one reads these books. No one reads these things, but what they do with them is they take the books and they give their friends book deals, and that's the payment system. And that's the payment system, which I think is pretty funny. Hold on a second. We said we've got a lot of echo going on here. I don't see any echo issue here. I should have echo suppression turned off. Do you have echo suppression turned off, Chris? Echo cancellation on?
Yeah, I have it on.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is then. Shouldn't be like that. But well, anyway, guys, if it continues, just let me know and I'll see if I can fix the audio. But should be all right. Go ahead, Jacktron.
No, I was just gonna say the reason I was gonna say go to Thune's office just to ask him why he hasn't passed the SAVE Act yet.
Well, I mean, he needs to. The SAVE Act needs to be passed, and this stuff is, again, but to me, the only way that's going to get through, guys, is they're going to have to do something with the filibuster, and I'm telling you right now, I don't think it'll happen. I do not think it'll happen at all. I as much as I'd say it would be great if it happened, I just don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong, but I doubt it. I really do. By the way, guys, if you would like to join the show now, if you guys are on the X Space, you are welcome to request and come up here and chime in yourself. If you want to ask questions, if you want to come up here and talk about, something else, who cares? You can come up here and ask questions, talk. You're welcome to join the show now. We've got it up live on the X Space here. And if you guys are in the comments on any of the other platforms, you're more than welcome to put comments there, and we do read them out through during the show. Chris, if you got any echo issues, I don't know, but it seems like everything's fine on my end. So
No, I'm still
now I barely hear you.
Really?
No, now I hear you. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think that sounds better. I don't get any echoes. I'm getting a little bit.
I don't know. I don't hear any echo personally. But anyway, guys, let's
Okay.
move on here and keep doing. And if there's echo, we'll see if we can figure it out. Looks like it's just Chris's mic. Yeah, it's a couple people saying it's just your mic that they're hearing echoes. I don't know. Let me see if I can. Maybe it's something on my end. Let me look. I don't think so though. Audio. No, it doesn't look like it. I don't have any echo issue, guys. So sorry. I'll see if I can figure it out, but I don't see anything like that right now. At least, doesn't look like it. But if there's, it'll buff out. Whatever. Okay, let's keep going here though. Let's see. We brought up Angel of Depth. What's up, Angel?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm well. I DM'd you a flow chart for financial stuff regarding that act that you mentioned, and as much as I could possibly do in like 2 minutes. But yeah, check your DMs later if you feel like it. Thank you.
Yeah. On which act are you talking about?
Fish something act.
Oh, the Wilson Fish Act. Yeah, the Wilson Fish Act. Yeah, I did a lot of deep diving on that because I didn't understand what it was. So I did look into that pretty extensively when I was looking into this, because to me it was pretty interesting. Just the fact that it, essentially what caught my attention is there was an article that I read about it, and I'll give you this quote. Let me see, where's my notes on this? Let me read this off to you because this was unbelievable to me. So I'll read this quote specifically. In short, the Wilson Fish program is not a minor technical alternative. It is a parallel governance structure inside the U.S. refugee resettlement designed to operate outside traditional state control, justified in the name of flexibility and efficiency, and sustained by long-term federal contracting with non-governmental actors. Doesn't that sound wonderful? So to me, yeah, I mean, when I saw that, I read that, I was like,
that's what it said.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, wow. Like, and damn, like, not what I thought I was going to. It was just a parallel government structure. Ooh, that sounds good. That's what we want. We want more parallel government structures. That sounds wonderful. The moment I heard that, I was like, that's where we need to look. Anything that says it's not operating in the normal traditional sense of the government, we should probably start there. I think that's an ideal place for us to look. So as soon as I read that, I was like, okay, yeah, we need to start checking that out immediately. I mean, that's crucial that we look into that.
It sounds a lot like NED, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. Actually, it's very similar to that.
The safe bet here is that most of these programs have another program that's similar, so it's very difficult to kill it.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? Now, Chris, I do hear an echo coming from you, so I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what the problem is. You got some sort of audio issue going on.
Yeah, I think I might. Well, let me do this. I'm gonna pop out and hop right back into this.
Yeah, you're cutting out every other word now too. So I don't know. Anyway, but so we got other stuff we can talk about tonight, guys. We got a bunch of other stuff we can go over. Yeah, there we go. People are saying that you're echoing a lot. So I don't know. Maybe when he comes back in, it'll have fixed it. But there's other stuff for us to go over. So it looks like the Minnesota stuff is still continuing. For those who missed it, over the weekend, Nick Sorter was dragged down the street by a group of Somalis, which was crazy. I mean, that was insane. They stole his camera directly out of his hand while he was in his car and then dragged him down the street because his hand got caught in the doorway. These people are nuts. I mean, these people are insane that this is even something that is happening. But yeah, no, that can't continue. These people need to get out of here. And the fact that every time we start looking into these people, it's always the same story. They're furious that we ask any questions, and that's how you know this is all nonsense. I mean, this is all nonsense. Every bit of it is. You know that these people are engaged in fraud because the reaction's the same almost everywhere you go. Every single time anybody engages with these people, they just go ballistic and start screaming and yelling and throwing things and, throwing a tantrum, essentially. That's what's really happening here. So to me, that we just need to fix this stuff. And I am happy with Scott Bessent, by the way. Scott Bessent has been all over this. I think that the Treasury Department has been, I think when I saw Bessent talking about this, he realized the same issue pretty quickly because he's a finance guy. He realized very quickly that the sourcing and the money made it a Treasury issue. And he's right. It does make it a Treasury issue. It makes it an issue where are we getting it? Because the Federal Reserve is the one that has to print out the cash and send that stuff around. So it is immediately a Treasury issue instantaneously. So, I mean, to me, I'm happy with what he's doing because these people have no interest in following anything that we're doing here. I mean, the fact that we seized money today means that they've been doing that on a wide scale, and we don't even know how much money there is. So I'm happy with what's happening out there, but I still think the ground game that I'm seeing, and I'm still seeing, I know Nick Sorter's, someone told me that the Proud Boys were going to go up and support him. So Minnesota's going to turn into a war zone pretty soon. I mean, I saw, I think it was 0 Hour posted stormtroopers like marching all together or something like that, which I thought was very funny. I mean, the deal is that when I'm looking at it, Minnesota looks very 2020-ish to me. I think the result of this is probably going to be the same sort of thing that happened in 2020, where you're going to see counter protesters and protesters fighting with each other in the streets, which, I mean, I guess that's what we're going to do. We're going to allow that to happen again. I know there's been a ton of talk about the Insurrection Act. Guys, I don't know if I want to see the Insurrection Act used at all. I think that would play really well into the left's hands. And we discussed this over the weekend. If you guys are joining the show, we had a weekend edition of the show on X. I think that the Insurrection Act is not the right decision here. I think that the better decision, again, is to go after the money, which I hope is the only focus right now. I know that I've got people that are paying attention to it, but I think to me, cutting off their cash is far more important to me than anything else. Fighting with their foot soldiers in the street and yelling at them is not going to cut it. We got to cut their money off. Otherwise, it'll just keep going. They'll hire other people. They'll bring other people in. And the NGO structure and understanding it and actually being able to go after that is what I think is the most important part. Go ahead, Angel.
I don't know if you saw the Data Republican post where she asked, do you think that the money laundering happens where the protesting is happening? Like, basically, they're trying to burn up, destroy as much evidence as possible if they're going to go, like, scorched earth on that stuff. And I thought that was an interesting point, for one.
Well, I agree with you there. And I actually agree with Data there, because what she was talking about is something I've said a couple times now. I specifically said that, look, where you're seeing the most, like, reaction to this, I think that's exactly what's going on. I think that's exactly what's happening. Where you're seeing the biggest protest, that's where the most fraud's at. And I think that's, I mean, it's just a theory, but I mean, wherever you see the most screaming and yelling, I think that's where you should go look. I think that's probably true. I mean, if that's why I was actually in Portland the other day, because I was figuring, when the two people got shot in Portland, I figured that they would probably do something about that. And it was interesting going out there because I got to talk to a couple other reporters that are looking at the fraud stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think that the places where you're going to see the biggest protests and the biggest reactions, that's where we should be focused on the fraud stuff, because they do this every time we get close to the money. Every time we get close, they throw these giant protests and try and change the narrative and spin it up and get everybody involved. I think that's the purpose for them, really. They're trying to distract from the fraud, and it seems to be that that's what they want to do with it. Now, I don't know if it's going to work in this scenario because, as far as I can tell, there's still people all over this fraud stuff. I don't think that's going away. I don't think they can get it. I don't think they can get rid of it this time.
Absolutely. And I also think, I mean, they're just trying to create a lot of traffic. They want to make it inconvenient also to get to the fraud. They want to make it dangerous for the people that are reporting the fraud to go there. But aside from that, I just want to say, I've been kind of, I don't know if I should say this publicly, but I will anyway. I've been kind of infiltrating Blue Sky. I think everyone out there should have a Blue Sky account and go on there, pretend you're left, start making friends, check out the scene. You'll learn a lot. I mean, I found, I don't know if you saw the Chad's pictures the other day that he uploaded because he was, I mean, him and Nick and whatever were all like targeted by Antifa. I found those there. I mean, there's so much stuff there where they're targeting specific people, and we need to be on this. We need to get in there and be on this. So if anyone wants to or wants to help, I think this is very important. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I think that you're right about the idea that they're trying to use it as a way to keep people from finding out and actually going and investigating. I agree with you entirely there. I mean, if you go look at it right now, unless you have like full-time security, I mean, and I'm talking like real, like almost like SWAT team level security, how the hell are you going to go out to Minneapolis right now? I mean, look what just happened to Jake Lang. And like I said, I'm not some big fan of Jake Lang, but being mobbed in the street like like an animal, I mean, he got beat to hell by like 50 people. I mean, that was crazy. I mean, that is the most insane video of watching him literally get tore apart by people. It's like, Jesus. And worse than that, for those who missed it, there's the best thing that I saw as a result of that, though, was when they had a video of the two people that picked him up. It was some tranny and his Latino girlfriend. It was the funniest video in the world. They were like, we didn't know who he was. We just saw someone, we thought ICE had attacked him, so we got him in the car, and then they started bombing the car. Like, it was the funniest video ever. Like, and you see, these people had no interest in it, but the deal is, this is what happens when you have mobs running around on the streets, because what are you going to do? They show up, that he got in your car, you must know him. So they just started attacking the car, and they had to speed off, and then he apparently bailed out of the car like a block later or something like that. It's like, what the hell is going on here? How are we allowing these like mobs of people to just run around in the middle of the city streets? But again, to your point, I think that's kind of the point. You can't go there and report on the issues happening there, because if you do, you get labeled as, one of the pro-ICE people. And then, there's all sorts of wonderful stuff. Speaking of that, the pro-ICE people, the anti-ICE people, they have really stepped in it, I think, with this going into that church over the weekend. And I talked about this a bit yesterday, but going into that church was a huge mistake for them. That actually violates the FACE Act, and, that's civil rights, and Harmeet's all over it. Don Lemon is an idiot. He was part of this. And, the interesting, I saw this earlier, that apparently right before he was in there, just moments before he was in there, he was interviewing the Attorney General of the state. So, this is stuff that, that they can get charged for that. FACE Act violations, you can be charged for that federally. So,
Well,
they
there's
found
also like
something
5
stupid for no
felonies.
reason.
And Harmeet says she has every intention of doing that, even though she was. I thought she was arguing with Flynn Jr., saying, like, "Oh, nobody's been arrested yet." I was like, "Do you understand how the legal process works?" It's like you have to get an arrest warrant first from a judge before you can just go in and arrest somebody. But she's made it clear that she said on the Vince show that by this Sunday that you should see somebody arrested.
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be people arrested. There has to be. I agree with that entirely, but like I said, I think they really, really stepped in it when they came to when they went into that church. That was a stupid decision on their part. So I think that's good for us that they ended up making that mistake.
The problem is they have these all these attorneys and bail like organizations. Basically, the whole thing, their whole monetary base, essentially, most of it goes to getting them bailed out and getting them legal services. So they know that no matter what they do, they're going to have some kind of judge assigned to them or some kind of a defense attorney assigned to them, and they will take care of them. They won't even have to serve time for anything they do.
Yeah, well, that's the other problem. I mean, that's a whole different issue. They run the courts, so they know that they bail their people out. That's the thing that bothers me about all this, like how it's all coordinated to me. It's so obviously coordinated. When you have the ability to bail your people out of jail so quickly after they've been charged with, federal crimes, it's obviously that these people know what they're doing. And again, even in their training manuals, which we've talked about extensively on this show, the Antifa people they're rewarded for it. If you do stuff that gets you arrested, you get rewarded for it. And I think that we need to figure out, again, to me, that goes back to the money. It always goes back to the money to me. You got to figure out how to cut the reward system off. You got to figure out how to cut the incentive structure off. Because if these people, when they go to jail, if they're sitting there and they can't get bailed out of jail, then I think you'll start seeing a bit of a change. If they're stuck in jail for a couple weeks or something like that while they're waiting on their trial, or they're just not getting bailed out by anybody else and they have to have family or somebody bail them out instead of the government or whoever the hell it is that's bailing these people out, I think you're going to see a significant change in the attitude of people if you suddenly involve their actual cash that they have to use themselves to defend themselves in court and get themselves bailed out of jail. Yeah, you're going to see a big change there, which to me, I have seen a couple of posts from the FBI saying that they're talking about going after the funding for these people, which to me, good. I would love that, but I have yet to see it happen. Okay, we've been doing this for a year. I mean, this is kind of the problem I have. I've seen Pam Bondi and a couple other people coming out and saying that they're going to go after these people. They're going to do this. And I'm like, yeah, but, you better step it up. Really. I mean, you better. I mean, you have to at this point. You got to do something. I mean, you got to do something and step it up because these people don't seem to be deterred even remotely. They seem to be pretty emboldened as far as I'm concerned. It's the middle of January and they're out in the middle of the streets rioting. I mean, if you think this is going to get better, it'll make the summer of 2020 look like the Macy's Day Parade. I mean, it's not going to be pretty if we don't do this right. So, this needs to be addressed quickly, and they need to figure out how to shut it off before we get there.
Walter, I have a question.
What's up,
How
Jeff?
come is it we can know that Maduro rigged the election in Venezuela and we can get him arrested, but we can't figure it out who rigged our elections here in 2020? And why can't Pam Bondi arrest anybody of significance? We can easily do it in Venezuela. Why can't we do it here?
Well, I think we know who rigged the elections. I think we know how it happened. But the reality is we have these judges that are coordinating and actively blocking any action. And that's the point that Harmeet Dillon's making here with what's happening here. We can't expect arrests to happen within 24 to 48 hours of this incident on Sunday that was disgusting and whatever. They stepped over the line. But the truth is, we should demand something happen this week. And what's more shameful is that John Thune and other Republican leaders have yet to say anything. Unless I've missed it, they haven't said anything.
Yeah, I haven't seen them say anything at all. I think that to me, I have been annoyed with I have been extremely annoyed with the people in the DOJ the whole time. I mean, it is extremely, really, really annoying. By the way, Chris, it's still saying that you've got an echo, dude. You might want to just join the space.
Yeah, I'll join the space. I'll hop in the space here in just a second.
Yeah, because people are saying that you've got a ton of echo. I don't know what the problem is. We'll figure it out at some point. But anyway, the point being on the DOJ, it really is a problem. To me, I have a huge issue with the way that they're running, with the way that Pam Bondi's been doing this stuff. Because to me, again, we're at over a year now. Well, I mean, I guess tomorrow will be 1 full year, and we will have zero people, 0.0 people arrested for all of the things that happened in underneath the previous administration, and that to me is just unacceptable. It just is. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. And the fact that we can't get anybody arrested, we can't indict anybody. Hell, we can't even kick MS-13 gang members out of the country because we keep getting blocked by the courts to be every time to do that. At some point, we got to change something. And again, I'll say it 100 times. I just don't think that I do not think that Pam Bondi is up to the task. I'll just say that.
Absolutely.
I think the MacArthur Foundation is basically bribing the hell out of these judges as well. As we know, since their basic goal is to give counties and to give judges money to release all these prisoners, especially violent prisoners, according to the color of their skin. But aside from that, regarding the Smartmatic machines and stuff like that, well, there's a kind gentleman. His name is Mark Mullick Brown. He is from, sorry, 1 second. He served as a vice chair of Open Society Foundations until 2021 and was appointed to the board of Smartmatic in 2019. So there was a documented overlap between the two. And that's how that happened in a sense. But there's 40 other places in the world aside from the United States where they use Smartmatic machines, so we can kind of understand where this is going.
Well, the Smartmatic machine aspect of it and the Maduro aspect of it, people have talked about this, have told me about it before. Until I really understand how that really plays into it, I'm not entirely sure. I think the Maduro thing is more of a geopolitical aspect. Maybe it's something to do with the Smartmatic machine, some part of it, but I am skeptical on that until I see more information. I'll just say that I don't buy it 100% until I actually have the full information, and I don't have enough actual physical document information to be able to prove that to me. Maduro, I think the thing about Maduro, it kind of proves that it's easier for us to deal with the problems in foreign nations than it is for us to deal with the problems here. I mean, when it's the power of the executive and the military doing things, we can do that pretty quickly. We can do it very effectively, and we're very good at it. But the problem is when on our own shores, it is much more difficult. Every time Trump does anything, we get blocked in the courts almost immediately. I mean, it's instantaneous. They block every single thing that we do in the courts, no matter what we do. So it's a huge problem. I mean, it's a huge problem for us to be able to fight off the courts and try to figure out how we're going to defeat the left when they seem to have a captured system, and especially in places like Minnesota, where you know for a fact that they have complete and total control over top of, they own the state, they own the legislature, they own the governorship, they own the attorney general, they've got everything. So it's very difficult for us to actually get progress to be done in those states. And you can already see what happens every time we deploy the National Guard or do anything. They immediately get it blocked in the courts, which to me, I don't know. I still think that the federal government at some point, I feel as if it should fall to the federal government if the states themselves, if they cannot maintain order in their own country, like how do you deal with it then? If the states can't maintain order, then I think the federal government is supposed to maintain order.
Well, the supremacy clause is key here, right? And these judges continue to rule on and make rulings that they know are not going to be upheld by the courts, but it's their job because they were appointed from like let's just use the district judge out of Minneapolis. She was the head of a woke leftist 501c3, was honored to be given a magistrate position, which is basically like a glorified judge position. And then Biden swept her in as an appointee to a U.S. district court position, right? These folks are not, it's not like we're talking about these massive, bright constitutional scholars here, okay? So their job is to make rulings that are tainting precedents, but more importantly, wasting taxpayer dollars. The supremacy clause is very clear. Where we are going to have a little bit of a constitutional crisis, I think, in Minnesota is going to be the role with the National Guard. Obviously, Governor Walz has called, is put the National Guard on order. Clearly, the National Guard is there to defend the state and defend order in the state. But the question is going to be when we have federal agents on the ground and the National Guard on the ground, who controls that National Guard at that point? If Governor Walz is giving contradictory orders or telling them not to obey the President of the United States' orders, then we got the Commander in Chief who is giving orders to soldiers, and you got a governor here who's telling them to do the polar opposite.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the problem, really, and we've got counteracting. The governor of the state. I mean, you hear Walz out here; he's literally saying stuff like, we're at war with the federal government. I've never heard a governor say anything like that. I mean that's pretty insane to me that we're hearing that. That's wild to me. I mean,
you had the mayor Walter, and we all saw the clip. You had the mayor who said he's urging the Minneapolis Police Department to take on ICE, and you saw the chief of police like raise his eyebrows, like, what did he just say? Because he knew what that means, right? I mean, these folks are out of, and of course they had nothing to say on Sunday about the church being raided by these communists, because this is what these are. These are, just so we're clear here, these are Fidelismo communist tactics that are used in Latin America, right? This is like the Fidel Castro version of communism. This is the tactics that they use in Latin America to do these things. But here's the problem. When you don't have any Republicans speaking out and condemning the Christian church is being raided, and you have silence from Democrat leftist politicians, you leave Christians out there, people of faith that probably voted Democrat. Let's be real in the area. The percentage of those people in there clearly voted Democrat at some point. and they're over here being attacked in a place of worship, which is highly illegal across multiple felonies. And you don't even have the leaders of the Republican, like the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, who's from a neighboring state, make a public comment and demand accountability. I am so blown away at the lack of reality on the ground right now. There are a ton of people on these platforms, a ton of influencers. You got obviously Scott Pressler, Brandon Strock, a whole TPUSA, a whole bunch of people who have their eye on the mission. But in situations like this, what if you can't fight for the church to be able to peacefully assemble without Marxist communists, storming in? What are you even doing in an elected position?
Right. I mean, that's what's nuts about it to me. But to me, they seem like this is what they want. They're okay with it. They don't care. Doesn't seem to bother them one bit. Apparently, they can do whatever the hell they want. Apparently, they're perfectly okay with it being as ridiculous as possible. And again, Walls is out here saying that this is we're at war with the federal government. Apparently, I mean that's to me the fact that he's even saying stuff like that that's the craziest part about all of it to me. The fact that he's even out here just directly saying that we're at war with the federal government, that's wild in my eyes.
And Walz was supposed to be the federal government. He was supposed to be. We dodged a bullet like crazy. He was supposed to be the vice president. But I just want to say, blocking a road is also a felony in the United States. Do they care? No, they don't. Is anything happening with that? No, it's not happening. Like they just understand that they can do whatever the hell they want and they're going to get out of jail for free. Like it's just something's got to give.
Well, and that's
cover up for all the fraud, the $18 billion. He's just covering it up.
Well, I mean, this is part of it, right? And this is what we were saying a few minutes ago, that the fraud itself is very likely being used specifically so they can cover things up. I mean, it's not surprising to me that, they have some ridiculous leftist that is some, lesbian woman that shows up, drives 5 hours from where she lives to show up at an ICE protest and protest ICE at, early in the morning, gets shot, and then they suddenly turn her into some poet. I mean, it's just absurd, really. It is completely absurd that that's what they decide to. Oh yeah, she's a saint, she's a poet. I mean, it's just the same thing. There's no difference really. It's Saint, like same thing as Saint Floyd of fentanyl. I mean, it really is no difference. Okay, they're coming up with anything they can, and what they're really looking for, they're looking for their next George Floyd type person. I don't think this one played in that well. I don't think it did. I don't think it's going to work out that well for them. I don't think you're going to convince enough people to show up in the streets for some random lesbian woman that showed up and was driving her car in the middle of the street and then drove it into an officer. Especially once everyone saw the actual video where you can hear the officer being hit by the car. I mean, it didn't sound like he got just brushed. He got hit by the car. So,
he was wounded, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt.
Well, you know where they messed up though, Walter, okay? Like obviously going into a church across multiple lines is just a no-go. You don't do that. Right? But where they messed up was when you got Don Lemon and you got, this gal who's supposed to be the head of the BLM group there or whatever. And you got all these other people that are all free Palestine, pro-Hamas guys, right? Guys and gals. And they go into this church and they start demanding, justice for Somalis and for these illegal immigrants that are let's like be real here right now. We're not talking about people who are over here making tacos, right? We're talking about sexual predators, actual cartel members. You're talking about terrorists, literally terrorists. I mean, some of the worst human beings on the planet are being taken away, and these people are doing this. And so you're seeing these videos now come out from the Black community, quite honestly, that are like, wait, the Black Panthers are protesting for illegal immigrants. Like, what the hell are we even doing here at this point? I think I saw this one video and she's like, what are you guys now, the Guatemalan Panthers? What are you, the Somali Panthers? You know what I mean? Like, the point is, and it's a valid point. Like, I'm not a fan of the Black Panthers, right? But I also know that they have stood, in some respects in the community, for some Black American rights, right? And you're over here protesting for illegal immigrants that have been taking the jobs in the Black community. This is the reason why polling, we've seen the polling out there for the last year. This is this is literally almost a 67% issue. The Latino community is at 63% last year when this was polled. The black community is at 59%. The white community is at 60%. I mean, bottom line is the Democratic Party continues to be wrong on every major issue there is to be for their base. And I think they overplayed their hand. You can't go raid churches just because you feel like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Go ahead,
we
Susan.
we don't have very good messaging because if you had a lot of children in that church and those children were frightened. I didn't see any pictures anywhere of frightened children. I just saw maybe one here or there, but nobody made an issue of it.
Well, I saw the one photo we saw of it. I mean, you got to remember that they probably don't. The people that actually have those photos probably don't want to publish them. I mean, they would have been the leftists themselves. They probably are not a huge fan of the fact that, our idiot friends just went into a church and scared a bunch of families and kids. That does not look good for them. I mean, it does not look good for them even remotely. So that's probably why you're not seeing a whole hell of a lot of that, if I had to guess.
That, but nevertheless, there was someone there to record the pastor, who was quite outspoken and said his piece. And I wish the Democrats, with all that they've done, they had a messaging campaign behind everything that they do, and we just don't seem to be that organized. And if I can just switch, I just wanted to ask you, where are we with the Insurrection Act?
Well, and I talked about this a couple minutes ago. The Insurrection Act, everybody keeps screaming about it and how much they want it. To me, I am hesitant about the idea of using it.
That's why I'm asking you, because I'm picking up that people say it's a trap, and I understand that. But then when you talk about the judges and how we're dead in the water with judges, I mean, what do we do?
I mean, listen, I understand and I agree with you. The one worry that I have when it comes to the Insurrection Act is, one, I think the Democrats desperately want an Insurrection Act, and that's part of the problem. But not only that, if he has to use the Insurrection Act, and if this is something that we think might persist, imagine we use the Insurrection Act and then it gets struck down by the courts immediately, and then we have no ability to defend anything when we get into the summer, when these riots will probably get way worse.
To the judges.
Well, I mean, it's going to be back to the judges no matter what we do. The judges issue is something that, I don't know how we solve this problem. The courts need to figure out. To me, I think that Trump has already long surpassed his Lincoln moment where he tells the courts, well, you try and enforce it, essentially, is what I would say. But the problem is that we run into, again, I think that the bigger part about it is there's more than one lever than just going after them using the courts and going after these people and arresting them. I think, again, and this is the number one way I think we can fight them off, is to cut the money. And that's what I would say. If you want to deal with these people, shut off their damn money. That's the number one thing we can do. And I don't think you need courts to say this 501c3 is violating its 501c3 status. I think the IRS can do that. I don't think a court even needs to have that ruling, because how can you prove, if you prove this NGO is operating outside of what it's signed up to do and it's funding federal law enforcement obstruction, I think that's a pretty easy way to cut their funding, which is why I don't understand why it's not happening. I guess I don't understand. I'm completely baffled by that.
Is Scott Bessent going to be going down that path?
Yeah, he's already said.
I know he's going to address Minneapolis, but it's nationwide.
Well, I think that's the point. Is they had to create another assistant attorney general that reports directly to the White House, that is overseeing all of this fraud. Let's call it what it is. It's 501c3 fraud. All right, plain and simple. If you look at the Sunrise Movement, you look at any of these people, you go look at their handles on X, or you go look at their stuff on Blue, whatever, whatever their posts are, even on Instagram, everything they're doing is political. They're anti-ICE, but it's actually anti-Trump. They're calling federal officers Nazis, SS, stormtroopers, that they're kidnapping Americans. All of these things they're saying, right? So it kind of goes back to your initial question. And the part of the reason why it's very difficult to battle these folks is because on paper, campaign finance paper, the Republican Party is out fundraising the Democratic Party like night and day. But on 501c3 paper, all of these organizations have billions of dollars pumped into them and a lot more capital, right? And so, and they are well oiled, and they're willing, and they got judges all over the place that are willing to do anything and everything to tie everybody up like whack-a-mole, right? And that's exactly what they're playing. It's whack-a-mole to the midterms. And if you think of it in that way, every time you hit one, another issue's popping up, and you hitting and you're hitting and you're hitting, right? And this is my complaint about the Republican Party right now. This was our Walter. This was our complaint back early last year, right? Like they had to act last year to get their butt in gear for this year, and now we're in this year, and they're not even saying anything. Like this is what's so crazy about the situation we're in. I don't like the Insurrection Act personally, because the reason why this could be an issue is because if you can't even step up to the plate on the basics, the Republican leaders that may be listening to this, if you can't even step up to the plate on the basics, and then they have already said what's going to happen. The drunk Bravo chick who's got a platform, she's with Jim Acosta, Don Lemon's doing his thing somehow again. All these people are saying a very clear message. When they take the majority in 2027,
Yeah.
they are going to start arresting and indicting people across the board, even Jesse Waters, because apparently masculinity is Nazism now, according to this gal, your favorite gal, Walter. So the bottom line is if they have the Insurrection Act in their hands, right? And this has already been done. They will try their best to play that to their favor and continue to spin the narrative that Donald Trump's this dictator.
And
Well-
that's right before the midterm elections.
Well, listen, it plays into their entire narrative, okay? Their narrative is what? Trump is an authoritarian. Trump's a dictator. Trump's the worst. He is Hitler 2.0. I guess now he's not just Hitler 2.0. Now he's a Nazi pedophile Hitler 2.0. I mean, like they keep adding to the adjectives, hoping that that'll work this time. I do wonder how many like ridiculous, stupid acronyms they can add to Trump before people are just like, well, I've
tourist business, for Christ's sake. The tourism business. It's crazy.
What now? I don't know what that doesn't sequitur with what I just said.
He's in the tourism business. He's not in the business of war.
Sorry, dude, you gotta. I don't know what you're doing. Put your hand up when you're going to talk, because you just kind of like completely cut into this, and I have no idea what you're talking about. So the point being is that they keep adding more and more things to the left. They keep adding more and more things onto the names that they're going to do for Trump, because at this point they call him everything. It's anything and everything they can possibly come up with as Trump. I mean, he's a pedophile, he's a Nazi, he's Hitler, he's Mussolini, he's everything. It's absurd how many things they keep adding and adding and adding to it. But I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep doing that. How many force-fed narratives do you think they can like get away with? Is there like a limit? Like, does at some point the leftist brain becomes overloaded with acronyms that they need? Like, is there some sort of limitation on how far they actually have to take it? I don't really know. But it seems to me that they're just going to keep adding them. And what are they going to do when Vance shows up? Because Trump's Hitler. So is Vance double Hitler? Mecha Hitler? I mean, like, what happens there? Does he turn into Godzilla? I mean, like, I don't understand how they're going to get away with it for the next guy. I mean, he's going to be way worse, apparently. So Vance is going to be worse than Trump.
I mean, and what happens if Rubio's the next president? Man, that really explodes their narrative, right? He's a white supremacist. He's Fidel Castro.
Oh, maybe they'll start hating communists. That'd be funny. That'd be hysterical if they start hating Cubans and they start going after them on that means. That would be very funny, actually. I
do have to correct you.
What's that?
Leftist brain is an oxymoron, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. I'm not sure if like.
Oh, leftist brain. Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean there is very limited capacity when it comes to the left and their intelligence. But the amazing thing is that they keep getting away with it. I mean the people that are like the random protesters you see chanting in the streets. Like I don't know how do you get through to those people? I don't know. And this is why I tell everybody, like, I don't see any purpose in fighting with their foot soldiers. The only thing you can do is stop giving them pre-printed signs and tons of speakers that show up out of anywhere and, professional sound systems and everything else. I think that'll have a huge effect on not having them be out there. I mean, that's the way I look at it, at least.
They want the commotion. They want the chaos. We need to not fight with them. We need to just completely ignore them like they're nothing. And I mean, honestly, we need to infiltrate. I think we need to infiltrate as much as possible. Now, regarding what Christopher was saying, like, and what you guys were saying, calling him Nazi, calling him like all these names. There's far worse stuff. Like, on I think Edie is here also. She found people talking about which shotgun they're going to use to kill ICE people, and I
Listen,
mean,
listen. The ICE stuff, the anti-ICE stuff. I've been saying this for a while now. That is going to backfire on them dramatically. Okay, that's going to backfire on them horribly, and I'll tell you why. Because all it really is, at the end of the day, these ICE protests, it is the exact same thing as defund the police. There is no difference. Zero. None. Not even remotely. There is no difference. It is defund the police. It's the same talking points. It's the same people pushing it. It's the same reaction to law enforcement. And I'll tell you right now that normal Americans don't like it when you're out there attacking law enforcement. It is not a popular thing. Defund the police was very unpopular for them. It was very bad for them. It did not go well for them at all. So if they're going to keep doing this and keep pushing this same narrative over and over and over again, I'm telling you right now, watching these people attack people in the streets and attack law enforcement, like I saw a video yesterday of them shooting a actual airborne firework directly into the ICE, into like the law enforcement line. Okay, like it went underneath one of their cars and exploded, full size mortar style firework, and then ICE had to come out and start defending themselves. Like, guys, no one likes to see cop cars get shot at with mortared fireworks. Okay, that's not a popular thing to do. Okay, that's not, oh yay, rah 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 resistance. No, that's not what that is. That is, you could have very, very badly hurt anybody involved in that. No one likes to see that kind of stuff. Okay, they don't like seeing that. That's not a popular thing, and it's not going to go well for them. And this storming of the church thing is only the next level of that. Okay, I got to get to some other hands here. Go ahead, Hill. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, Walter?
What's up, buddy?
And company. Actually, I've got a lot of stuff. I may not get to everything in here because I don't want to take up too much time. But one thing I wanted to comment on is that all these NGOs really sound like the Enron affair to me, the way that they're all structured. So I don't remember exactly how they went after Enron, but maybe they're taking a page from that, because all these offshore and shell companies and God knows what. I mean, Enron was a real mess.
Well,
I have
Enron, at the end of it, they got it overturned at the Supreme Court. So,
meaning,
Enron won their Supreme Court appeal.
but then there was no more Enron left by that point.
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, by that point, they had already destroyed them. But the point that I'm saying is that Enron didn't even actually really lose the court at the end of that. But of course, there was no Enron left because they had dragged them and destroyed them. But yes, I mean, yes, they did successfully lawfare Enron to death. That is true. But that's just something that a lot of people don't understand.
Well, maybe that's not a good analogy then. But so a couple of questions. One is, why is there no pipeline so I just imagine this. You're in the Trump administration and a judge countermands an executive order. Why isn't there a fast track process to go and, file a court? I don't even know what it is, a brief, or file a suit against the judge. It seems like there's no operation here to handle this. Maybe there is, and I just don't know about it. But it seems like these things could be moved faster, and that the Trump administration could be attacking these judges as they pop up. Because I guess we never know where they're going to come from, but they seem to be everywhere. That's one question. The other one is, and this is a different subject, why isn't there, or couldn't there be, an alliance for independent journalists and people who put themselves in harm's way, to get them the kind of security they need, but also to have some pro bono lawyers that are willing to help them in the same way that the left helps the protesters who get arrested? So it seems like we're not learning that much from the other side. They're showing us how to do things, and we're not really paying attention all the time. And I just wanted to give you one update on some New York stuff. Today in the mail, I got a notice that there's a special election in the 47th Senate District. That's the state Senate district. And that happens to run from Greenwich Village through Chelsea, Hell's Kitchen, and almost the entire Upper West Side. So that's a pretty big chunk of Manhattan. And I didn't know anything about this, but apparently Eric Botcher, who is the third district city council member in Manhattan, is running unopposed. There isn't even a Republican candidate for this Senate seat in New York State. I don't know why, but that seems to be the case there. And I also had dinner on Saturday with a woman who works for the city, and she works in the department that manages homeless people. And I didn't want to ask her to say anything contradictory to her new boss, but things don't seem like they're in great shape over there. I mean, she told me they're still working on computers that are 12 years old, and they need 8,000 new ones, and they can't seem to get it together to get the stuff. And also, I didn't know this, but the city council cannot. I mean, the city council doesn't have the power of the purse. That's not at the city level. So if the city needs money, it has to always go to the state. And also, there is a new speaker for the city council named Julie Menin, who is, oddly enough, the first uh, Jewish speaker of the city council. And she seemed to indicate, this woman I was talking to, that Julie Menin might be something of an opposition to Mamdani, who she also said needs a win, which I don't think he's really gotten yet, not with two bidets and a public bathroom.
Well, I mean,
So,
my favorite thing is that he already started asking about bus fare, which is the only thing I care about. Everyone's well aware that the only thing that mattered to me when it came to when it came to the decisions in New York was that, well, he said fast and free buses, and well, I was just wondering how fast and free they were going to be. That was the only thing I cared about, and it turns out they are not fast, nor are they free. So that's already one promise that's been broken. So Mom Dami's 0 for 0 in my eyes. He hasn't got a single win yet. I mean, he's got nothing so far. He can't get his fast and free buses. He when he went to the White House, he didn't even stand up really to Trump, so his base didn't like that. They were mad at him.
yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know how Mom Dami's going to do. Giving while we're on other states and we go through this, Virginia is about to be descending into all levels of progressive hell. If you guys haven't noticed that yet, the new state
yeah,
legislator has sat and they have already introduced so many radically absurd bills that Virginia they're going to be it's going to be Eastern California, which is what I used to call Virginia back when the left ran it before. It was Eastern California. And this is my home state, which is why it's very upsetting to me. But, they are going to completely radicalize that state. But I do want to say to everybody it's actually Lee Jackson Day today. I know people think it's MLK Day, but it's not. It's actually Lee Jackson Day. That's something that a lot of people don't even know exists. But in Virginia, Lee Jackson Day was celebrating both Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee. And today was originally the holiday that Virginia had for them. Now, that doesn't make the left very happy when you talk about that because, they took the holiday and they, abolished it. And then when St. Floyd of fentanyl died, then they completely removed it. I mean, they had moved it to a different date for a while. In 2000, they moved the date to, I think they moved it to like Election Day or something like that. But then after St. Floyd of fentanyl, they completely abolished the holiday. So, I like to remind everybody that it is still Lee Jackson Day, and the left doesn't really like that at all. But then no one even remembers that anymore because the progressives have just, they have run roughshod over top of the state so badly. But it is only going to get worse for poor Virginia. So, I hope that there's a motion right now where West Virginia may try to take all of Appalachia from Virginia, which would be incredible. I hope that happens. I'll happily call myself Western Virginian, like that. That's okay. It just take all of Southwest and Western Virginia. Make sure you include Shenandoah County. And I'll be okay with it. You just go right ahead with that. Is do that as soon as possible. I don't care at all about being part of the D.C. circuit of swampiness that is now the progressive hell that is going to become Virginia. I'd be very happy if they just secede that section of Virginia to West Virginia. I think that's brilliant. Go ahead with that. Get that done as soon as possible. Sure, it'll give Virginia will be permanently blue for all of eternity then, but at this point it's going to be that anyway. So, the new laws that they're passing is, mandating essentially all of voter ID is gone. They're going to make sure that they can steal every election from here forward. They're going to double the Somali fraud scans. They're doing everything that every leftist state does. So, quickly secede is what I would say. Quickly do it faster.
Walter, they have that bill that would ban paper ballots and mandate a requirement of electronic voting machines, and in recounts it would have to be done via the electronic voting machine and not actually physical hand counts with paper ballots. I mean, like, these people are so insane. But you know what? I mean, let's be honest here. The Republican Party would drop the ball there, right? And unfortunately, that's where it's at. I mean, like, what did they think was going to happen? They honestly believed that Abigail Spanberger was like a moderate. There are no moderates in the Democratic Party in Congress. I repeat, none, zero, zilch. They're gone. Okay. There's barely any in their voting base anymore. The moderate Democrats are called Trump supporters, MAGA.
Fetterman.
They're called MAGA, right? And so there are still some out there. I'm not saying that there's not, but the reality is the majority of the base of the Democratic Party is urban, ultra left liberals. They like taking scalps. When they say something, they're going to do it 10 times worse. They love power and they love revenge.
Yeah,
And they love being the victim and the bully. They're being the victim and the bully at the same time.
They also really, really like daycare. That's another thing. It's very important to them. That is crucial to the Democrat platform, how much they like daycare. Daycare is a staple amongst the liberal ideology. They need as much of it as possible, and they need it to be exclusively run by the stupidest group of Somalis that they can find, so that way they can suck all the money out of it and take it back to their campaigns. That's crucial to their platform. That's right.
Well,
They do love kids. It's just not theirs. They don't love their kids. They hate their own children. They have to bring in third world people so that way they can like their kids. That way they can get money from them. It's like welfare, but it's welfare, but it's not even your own kid that you're getting the welfare from.
If it's someone else's kid, then it's fine. But if it's your kid, it's abortion, like all the way. I just want to touch on something real quick. When someone came up here earlier and she said that we don't know what we're up against, we don't have good media. There are so many groups within the Democratic Party that are in charge of tech, AI, and their whole programming scheme. I would love for anyone to hold a space on this. Like I want to send people the materials about this because they have so many tech companies on their side right now. They have so many platforms where they just recruit people, they put them on these platforms, and I mean, it's unreal. I'll send you the map basically, Walter. I want you to see this. This is unreal. Thank you.
Well, one of the problems with the left has controlled the tech sector for quite some time. That's not like a new thing, really. But the one thing I will say about it is that even though they've controlled the tech sector for an extended period of time, the tech sector has started to shift, and there's a reason for that. Is because the tech sector realized quickly that they need AI. Okay, so they need AI, and then it's very funny. The people in Silicon Valley, they said, "Oh yeah, we need AI. So what do we need for AI? Oh, we need massive amounts of compute." Which means you need massive amounts of energy. And then they realize, well, windmills don't really do that. So, it's kind of a problem for them. So they've now all shifted away from that. And they're going to realize very quickly that the greenies were not on their side at all. They were just, they were just happy with them because they said things that they liked. The moment that you say, well, I need 50 times the amount of power that we existed in this country, and I need it now. I mean, there's going to be, watch this happen over the next couple years. There's going to be entire companies that come up specifically for power generation. They're just going to be generator companies. They're going to exist all over the place, and they're going to create tons and tons of new power. It's going to be very interesting to watch. It should be very funny because the left that you said love, absolutely adore green energy, is going to shift dramatically. And all the people in Silicon Valley and all those places, they're going to shift away from it even faster than anybody else because they need the power. So it's very funny when the calculus changes. They're like, oh, nope, we need power now. All right, everyone, what do we do to get power? All right, cut out all the coal plants. Do whatever we got to do. I mean, I think Elon Musk is buying like 1,000 generators an hour right now. I mean, I don't know how many he's got, but I can't imagine the backlog for the company that is ordering the generators for XAI. Like it's the giga plant that he's been building. It's what's it called, macro harder now or something like that. It's some ridiculous name, but just the amount of energy that they're going to have to create to be able to even get the compute that they need is going to be very funny to watch. I think there was the most recent update on that was that Elon's people at some point, they had a bunch of generators, right? And there's like EPA regulation on how long you can keep generators in a certain spot without them being considered, if they're temporary, then you don't have to do certain things. And what they were doing was they were like lifting the generators and then moving them like 6 feet. So they moved them like 6 feet over to the right and then say, well, it's a temporary generator. It wasn't where we left it before. And eventually they came in and seized a bunch of the generators. So like, I find it hysterical. I think that we should just get rid of all the EPA regulations and the EPA should be reduced to a small corner office in Topeka, Kansas. But, we'll see if we actually manage to get that done.
I DM'd you the chart. You have to see this. It's unreal.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Guys, I'd like everyone to share the show out. If you guys are in here, if you're on the X space, you are welcome to come up here and join us on the show this evening. Come up here and request. You're welcome to come up here and talk. If you guys are on any of the other platforms, the only way you can call into the show is you got to go to x.com, go to @WC Dispatch, and that's the only place you can join and come up and actually join in and chime in on the show. But if you are welcome to do so, you can always put comments in the other sections. I do read the comments throughout the show, but please share the space out, share the link out for the live if you guys want to do that. I appreciate everybody who does that. And if you want to support this show, go to WCDispatch.com, or you can actually subscribe right here on X. And the X platform, what I do with the X subscriptions, because I try to funnel people to the website, but if you would prefer to subscribe on X, you get access to the internal side of what I do in the investigation. So you get behind the scenes, what's coming next to that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, at some point I was going to fill out some of the subscription model on X with some like exclusive video content, doing some big like tools and stuff like that. But if you guys are interested in subscribing now, right now it's specifically about the investigations that we're working on. And I want to welcome Jordan Daly to the stage. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, what's going on, Walter? How are you?
It's another night.
I know it's another night of continuous chaos, right?
That's right.
They had a just so you guys know real quick, they had a what's currently being registered at a 5.1 earthquake about an hour ago in Southern California. For those, it's looks like it's east of Anaheim.
Did it separate the state?
I wish.
No, okay.
Guys, I'm in Los Angeles. Stop.
Did you feel it there in Los Angeles?
Hell no.
Be nice.
I'm
So
joking.
if you guys know,
Genuinely,
I only sort of wanted to have
anything over like anything over a 6. That's when you start feeling it. 5.1, you might just look around and say, "Whoa."
Yeah, if you guys know Alpha Warrior on X Spaces, it was fairly close to kind of where he resides. So, but just kind of putting that out there for folks that are may want to know. So,
well, it didn't separate the state off and float it into the ocean, so that's unfortunate.
It didn't take out Gavin Newsom, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's also unfortunate. I mean, we can only hope that that happens. But I think we're gonna get to have a full cycle of Newsom, baby. I mean, we're gonna get the weird hand motions, the maraca hands. We're gonna get a full election cycle of every bit of Gavin Newsom, which should just be endlessly entertaining.
You don't like the shoulder shimmy?
Yeah, that's right. The maracas. He's got the little shimmy thing. But my favorite thing is when he does like this. He does this new thing where he can't figure out what to do with his hands, so he like puts them on the table in like weird ways. I don't know what's with the Democrats in this. This is a common thing amongst the Democrat politicians. For some reason, they have no ability to control their hands while they're speaking, so they just do strange things with them. Like I don't understand it. I don't know what it comes from. I've noticed it across almost every Democrat politician does this. Newsom just happens to be the strangest and weirdest example of it. I don't know why he does it, but it's just, apparently he has no ability to control. It's like Ricky Bobby in Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands.
It's okay.
It's probably the tick from like 35 boosters.
It's the booster tick. Is that what it is?
It's the booster tick. And just so we know, because somebody had asked, kind of in terms of the law enforcement aspect up there in Minneapolis, Muslim Attorney General Keith Ellison, who was famous for mopping his girlfriend live on video across the room and beating the hell out of her. That happened. So his quote on Don Lemon's show regarding the raid of a church, storming of the churches, his direct quote is, "None of us are immune from the voice of the public."
What?
That's the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota, a Muslim Attorney General for the state of Minnesota. Again, famous for mopping his girlfriend across a bedroom and beating the heck out of her. That did happen. Shout out to Laura Loomer way back in the day. And people forget that. The point is, that was his direct quote to D.L. Hughley and Don Lemon on Don Lemon's show. Keep in mind, Don Lemon is officially under investigation. His show, the Attorney General says to him, "None of us are immune from the voice of the public," when asked about the raiding of the church, which, as a reminder, Keith Ellison was interviewed shortly before by Don Lemon.
Well, that's insanity. What I think about this when I see that sort of stuff is, what do you think would happen if these people did that in a mosque? What do you think would happen? Just out of curiosity. You think it would be all nice and peaceful, and the people would have sat there quietly, and then there would have been nothing? No,
Beheading.
I mean, I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. So very annoying that that we've got these people in charge of our government, and they don't seem to have any interest in it. But the good part is that federal law takes over in this scenario because of the FACE Act. So I don't think it's going to go well for them regardless.
So not Sharia law.
Yeah, no, not Sharia law in this scenario. Definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, guys, if you want to come up here and join the show, you're welcome to do so. Make sure you guys share the link out. Keymaker, go ahead.
Hey, Walt, thanks for having me up. Jordan, Chris, nice to be talking to you guys again. I see a bunch of familiar faces in here. I've been, I'm in Virginia, so it's I don't know. I mean, our governor is a whack job. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. And then I don't know what they're gonna do to this state. You know what I mean? Like I'm just waiting to see like how bad it actually gets, how far they're actually gonna go with it. But I try and ignore it. I try and just stay in my lane and ignore what these fools are doing. But yeah, I mean, we got massive fraud here. I just don't know why the federal government doesn't really do anything. They don't pay really any attention to Virginia. They arrest there's like 14 million gang members here, and they arrest like 3 every once in a while. It's like, it's retarded. But yeah, so in Virginia right now, they have a lot of, a lot of this fraud stuff, same exact shit you're finding like in Minnesota, same thing. And like the whole entire system, I think, has these like these holes, these loopholes, and these areas of exploit that are intentionally put there. It's intentional. It's like there's no possible way that you can just fill out like a retarded piece of paperwork, give it to the government, and they just start flooding your bank account with checks. And all you have to do is lie. They don't even check. They don't even fucking check if sorry for cursing, but they don't even check to see if you're like legit. They don't even. I mean, we have unregistered businesses that aren't even lawful corporations in the state of Virginia, just fucking operating all of the time. They're just operating. They don't have insurance. They don't have licenses, and they're just consuming tax money. And it's starting to get to the point where I'm like what are we doing here? Like what are they trying to do? Are they trying? Is like the whole intention to just show the world, to make America look like a fool, to make our governmental system look like idiots, and that way they can bring in the communism, right? Like that's the only way that I can cut it is if you look at like everything that they've done. If you look at the Democrat platform, and it's not just them, you have some on the Republican side. Look at all of the stuff that they've actually passed, all of the work that they've done. Every single thing is like it's meant to derive fraud. And it's meant to go, it's literally meant to take your federal tax money, flood it into a state, and embezzle it into their campaigns and into their coffers. And I don't know how long it's been going on, right? Like I've only noticed it in my lifetime, about 15 years ago, but I'm starting to think that this goes back before I was even born, because I started seeing some laws that were passed even before that. And you start looking at the numbers. Like, I don't think anybody would be mad if everything was okay, right? Like, okay, free childcare. There is no free childcare. You can't get childcare in Virginia, but you can get fraudulent childcare and checks for having a fraudulent daycare in Virginia, just like you can in Minnesota, right? Like, we don't have any of these things that the tax money's paying for, right? Like our roads are messed up, our bridges are messed up. We have these programs like first, one thing, like if you're homeless here in Virginia, there's nothing for you. There's nowhere for you to go. That's why there's homeless people in the streets. But yet there's companies and even churches getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm not going to say it's 100% because I know there are good people out here, and I know Virginia does. And I'm in Northern Virginia. I like to point that out. Like in Northern Virginia, I think it's like amplified 1,000x. But I really just I'm starting to get so fed up with it because it's like it's a waste of tax money. You would never do it. You would never waste your money that way. Well, how the hell are we going to continue this system that we have, allowing them to just steal our money? And I don't know, it's wild. It's so aggravating to see like what's going on. And every time I get into conversations or I go into other spaces where people are talking, you always notice one common thing, and that is that their theme is always just against America. No matter how far you just look into it, it's like, okay, look, we see a problem. Can we fix it? How can we fix it? Let's work together. They don't want to do that. They just want to destroy America. So I'm starting to get fed up with it. I know a lot of you guys noticed that as well, and I'll land there.
Yeah, like here's the deal though, man. You're dealing with dishonest actors. Okay? You're dealing with dishonest actors. They they pretend they want to have this engagement. They pretend like this is all organic. None of this is organic. It's all orchestrated. You saw them raid the church, and their justification for it was that it's like Jesus flipping the tables, and that she's a reverend and shouting these people down as a white supremacist church, and all of these different things. They're always going to throw religion in your face. They're always going to throw Christianity in your face because that's what demonic people do. Okay, they're always going to pretend like they have that they want to have a dialogue, but they have no intention of ever changing their minds. Okay, none. And so this is part of the point of the political theater that is so effective for them, is that we can't imagine being these people because there's no way we could ever do that. But these people don't care about you. They don't care about your church. They don't care about your government, and they damn sure don't care about your tax dollars. As far as as far as they're concerned, they want all of that. Okay, they don't want your churches to exist. They only want churches that embrace rainbow flags outside their church to exist. They don't want you to have your tax dollars. They want your tax dollars. They don't want you to have weapons. They will have weapons if they're criminals, right? Like, this is the point. And actually, this former capo Michael Frances talks about how the Democratic Party today, sadly, I'm gonna say sadly, the Democratic Party today is an organized crime outfit. And that's just the reality. And the sad part about it is that what they're doing in their crime is not like the mob. Okay, it is helping transnational terrorist organizations and communist narco cartels succeed. Hear that again. And so that's what they're doing. That's every time they do this, they're emboldening these people. So you can't engage with them. The best thing the right can do right now is constantly humiliate them and call them out for the fake that they are. Because the moment you go on there and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this. Well, you have to believe that they're doing it, and you have to call it out for what it is. And if everybody's on message, that is effective.
It would be nice if we could get everybody on message, but I have a whole, the reality is that a lot of them don't even care, Chris. I mean, the problem is you got a whole bunch of people that are profiting off this system on both sides of the aisle. It's not just one side. That's why when I talk about the NGO stuff, I try and make sure people understand it's not just one side of the aisle that's doing this. It's not. There's both sides of the aisle are profiting off the system. The same people, when everyone talks about George Soros this, George Soros that, there's lots of Republicans who take money from George Soros, people. There is. There's lots of them to take money from George Soros. And the deal is we need to figure out how to get these people off the teat of this constant NGO money. We need to figure that out more than anything else. If we manage to get rid of the NGO money and go after the funding and actually take some of these people down, that'd be amazing. And the deal is, to me, watching all of these people and all these different aspects, watching the Senate flail about as they try to force them to pass the SAVE Act, if they don't pass that, this is the kind of stuff that I've been saying for a minute now. If they don't actually act on some of the will of the people in these places, the Republican Party is a finished party. I mean, it is at this point. If they don't actually act and actually get their act together and figure it out, no one's going to vote for him. And Trump, without Trump being on the ballot, people are going to not vote for these people at all. And they're not popular. They're really not popular. They think that they're popular. They're not. And the people in the Senate are some of our biggest issues. The biggest issues watching these people that they don't seem to have. I mean, like, how insulting is it, just to give you the reference here, how insulting is it that the Senate pushed forward their appropriations where they're trying to appropriate another $5 billion for the Office of Refugee Resettlement so that they can continue to push this money in? That's where all this fraud's coming from. That's where this specific set of fraud is coming, that we're working on, the investigation that we're part of. That's where that's coming from. It's coming directly from the Office of Refugee Resettlement, pushed it into NGOs, and they're trying to up the money going into it. I mean, that's the current Republican Senate doing that. That's where we're running into this issue. They need to get on board, and they need to actually be forced to actually take the will of the people. And if they don't, they're not going to have they're not going to do very well. I mean, I don't know how else it'll happen.
Yeah, and that reminds me, when as you're saying that, I was wondering if what's going on in Minnesota is just strictly because it's like Democrat territory and they run everything. It's not. There's a whole bunch of Republicans there, and I don't think they're making enough noise about, like, okay, so we're at a point now where if I decide to go to church on a Sunday, I'm going to have to listen to protesters? Like, what are they doing? Are they trying to instigate, like, is there a willful desire from even the Trump administration to try and instigate like a civil war? I'm starting to get conspiratorial on this. Like, what are these people retarded? How are they not arrested yet? How, like this is insane. If you and someone mentioned the mosque earlier, I guarantee you, if you do that at a mosque, you're getting arrested the same day. I will 100% guarantee that you're not going home, at least for a little while. You're going to get charged with something, and they've done nothing. They've arrested
Well,
nobody involved in that.
well, I
It's
mean, look, now,
mind-boggling.
well, listen. The federal law enforcement can't arrest people right away. Now, I know I am, from what I understand, I'm watching Harmeet be all over this. They're going to try and get federal. They're going to get federal warrants, and they're going to arrest those people for face fact violations. But that's not something you can do in one single day. Like that's not the same sort of thing. Now, if it was a mosque, you know they would arrest everybody because what they would do is they'd have the actual Minnesota police show up and do it immediately. And that's the reason it's not happened already because they own those cops. They're not going to. Those cops aren't going to show up. They're not going to do. Hell, they can't arrest people that are attacking them. They can't do anything. I mean, I'll tell you right now, when I was like, this is something that to me is still just mind boggling watching it in person, is when you see protesters at these big events, okay? When they actually physically attack cops and they don't go to jail, nothing happens to them. That to me is beyond me. I mean, it's the most insane thing in the world, but it happens all the time. It happens all the time. They can physically throw things, hit cops, attack them, like actually attack them, and then nothing happened to them. It's wild. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. But this is what happens when you have leftists who don't want to have any laws enforced. They want the protest. They like it. That's what they want. They want the chaos in the streets. They want more of it. They don't care. And to them, the end goal is all that matters. And the end goal for them is to try and make this. They like sowing chaos. Whenever Trump is in office, they sow as much chaos as possible because they hate what Trump does. So anything that they do to create more chaos. So if that means they got to let all their insane rioters that are violent people, let them back out of jail, that's all they have to do. They just have to do it. They just do it. That's the reality of it.
Walter, check this out. The Daily Wire is reporting. So just for people to understand this, the Daily Wire, Luke Rosiak, Walter, I think you know Luke, right?
Yeah.
He's reporting one of the protesters who took over a church. I'm quoting him, and I put it up in the nest. One of the protesters who took over a church service this past Sunday, with we all saw it on camera with Don Lemon, with his DL mic, was screaming, "Shut it down!" Works for Minneapolis's local prosecutor. He is married to a St. Paul City Councilwoman. The church was in St. Paul, and is running for state senate. And drumroll, runs a 501c3 called Homes for Homies.
Oh my
Takes
God.
Section 8 money and steers it back to whoever they choose. Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm
this is for the
saying.
local prosecutor's office. He's
Listen to me. Listen to me. One of the other people that was working there, one of the other people that was at there was this local school board member. Okay, like there are people from the government here at these protests. Okay, like this is what you're talking about. I mean, this and further than that, this reminded me of something which I forgot to bring up. Did you guys know that the person who drove off with Nick Sorter's camera? Did you see that they own an autism center? Like it's just comically retarded at this point. It's just they actually own a autism center. Like it's a Somali that owns an autism center. And, I saw Dustin Great say something. He's like, oh, and it's actually way worse than just that. Like it gets worse. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, we don't live in a serious country. These people are not serious, but they don't have any problem with it because nothing happens to them. That's the problem. Nothing seems to matter to them. They can get away with pretty much anything because the local government's not going to do anything. And that's where we run into the scenario where, at some point, the federal law enforcement needs to restore order and actually, clean some of this stuff up, you would think. I mean, I think that would be mandatory at some point, but I don't know. Maybe it's not.
Well, that's my big frustration with this thing that happened at the church, right? Like, I don't mind if you're outside of a church and you're protesting, as long as you're not interfering, you keep your distance, whatever. I don't care about that. But to actually disturb the service, like, so we're just gonna tell the whole country that it's okay to now just if I don't like tires, I can go into Tires Plus and hold up a sign because they got rubber that contaminates the planet. Like, I mean, how far are we going to let this go? Like, where do we protest next? And I'm just saying, like, I know that's it sounds crazy, but just think about we're going to set the precedent that protesters can now enter buildings and disturb what's going on. It doesn't make sense.
It's not at all legal, first of all, for them to enter any place of worship and do what they did. It's also, by the way, not legal for them to be outside of a church and aggressively confront people as they're leaving a church service.
Exactly.
That is
listen,
also
guys,
not.
this is what I said the other day when I saw this happen. Okay, what is going to like the end result of this, which is why I said that they need to get a handle on it, and they need to get a handle on it a lot faster than they have so far, is because the end result of what they're doing right now, when you've got leftists going into churches, and that you know why they were going in there? They thought that the pastor had some sort of affiliation with ICE. I mean, it's that stupid. It's that ridiculous. So that's what was going on. But that's really what's going on. They thought that the pastor had something to do with ICE. So that's what their intention was. They think that, okay, well, the pastor's got something to do with this. But the problem with that is that the next result of that, guys, is they're going to start going into people's homes that they think are part of ICE. You're going into someone's church and they're interrupting a church service on Sunday service. What is going to stop them from going in people's houses next? Nothing.
Well,
Nothing's stopping. That's the problem.
They're targeting their families already. But what's bothering me above all is all that money going to the Somalian warlords or whatever they are. When we have the VA, we've got veterans that need help. We've got so many veterans that need help. There's nothing I would want more to do with those tax dollars. If we can't get them back, I want them to go to veterans. Instead, who are we paying? Somalian warriors. Really? They're over here for Islam. Like, I just can't believe it. It's unbelievable. And this is such a spit in the face of everyone that's served in the United States Army. I'm sorry. It's heartbreaking to me.
Well, I mean, the amount of money that we spend on stupid things instead of actually helping our citizens is astronomical. Is absolutely astronomical. I mean, so that's a whole nother aspect of this. I mean, if we wanted to go into that, but the problem again to me when I'm talking about this is when we're going back, what the next phase of this would be going into people's houses. And this is why I said the government has to do something to restore order, because at some point, if they don't get a handle on it and they start letting people just go into people's homes and stuff, that's when people get shot. That's when people get shot. Like that would be the next phase of that, really.
Yeah, it's getting too far at this point. I'm just like, I don't mind. And I try and look at it from an economic standpoint, from a productivity standpoint. I understand that not everything's going to be perfect, but the whole entire system can't be fraud. That's not how it works. None of this stuff is going to work if we don't get back to checks and balances, if we don't start enforcing laws, making the rules mandatory rather than, suggestion or whatever, it doesn't work that way. You have to have order. Otherwise there's chaos. And once there's chaos, I mean, how far are people going to go? Because right now there's a lot of people that are right on that line. They've been living their life on that line. And the reason they've never crossed it is because shit's not really that far out of hand, but it's starting to get there now. I think that there's a lot of line crossing right now. And I don't want to see it from the other side, right? Like, I don't want to see the right go even crazier and then the left go even crazier. And we have like no semblance of what this nation is actually about, which is definitely not going inside of protesting a church or even a mosque or a synagogue with, chanting and all of that. That's not how we roll here. That's not America. That's not Americanism in any way, any fashion. So it's just frustrating to see it happening. And I know that you're on it, and I don't want you to lose track of the fraud stuff, because I really think that they're going to come out with every possible way to instigate people into other topics that have nothing to do with the fraud. I think the fraud is the main thing that they're worried about, and they want to distract from that in any way possible. So I'm not going to be surprised to see other nonsense stuff come up real soon, especially as it starts to warm up. I know it's not warm yet, but I tell all my friends, like, just focus on yourself, your community, and keep an eye out, keep track of everybody. I have a rule, right? I've had this rule for a long time, no new faces, no new people. You gotta understand, these people infiltrate groups, they infiltrate communities, and they come in and they sow discord and chaos.
Well, listen,
and I'm not meaning just online, I mean in real life.
Well, listen, the people these people, I'm not interested in any of their little distractions, so that's not a problem for me. Because to me, when you start digging on something and you think you found something like this, when you actually see the fraud and you actually think this makes a whole lot of sense, and then you understand the structure behind it and you start going into the structure behind it. No, I'm not going to get deterred by pretty much anything when I'm coming and looking at the fraud. So, and especially because this to me means we're right over target. The more they get mad, the more they flip out, that means we're on target. That means that they are losing their minds for a reason. That means we're doing something right. The more the upset they get about something of us paying attention to something, the more interested I am in that thing, which is, this has been the most quick reaction I've seen when we start, like, How strange, though. The Quality Leering Center goes uber viral, and then immediately afterwards, massive riots in the streets of Minnesota. Like, I mean, it's like that is such a strange correlation that it just tells you that's where we need to be looking entirely. That's the real answer to it. We have to keep looking here because clearly something's going on. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
New York, California, and Minnesota and Ohio, yes.
Well, it's not just those. It's going to be more than those.
It's everywhere. It's every state, obviously.
Well, I don't, the deal is specifically for this investigation that we're working on, like, this is part of the reason when I was talking about this, like, where we're talking about the sourcing, which was what we covered last week, the sourcing of the cash. It's kind of important to figure out the sourcing of the cash because, again, the amount of physical dollars makes it very difficult for you to source it from just one or two states. It has to be sourced from multiple states. And actually, we've got a hold of now the districting for the Federal Reserve, how the money, like how Federal Reserve actually districts out and like moves cash around. And we're going to start actually analyzing and see if we can figure out how that works, because at some point we're going to have to figure out where the cash physically makes it to Minnesota to go out if it was going out that door. So where and how are they getting it there? That's a very important question, and we intend to answer as soon as possible, which is probably not going to be very long from now because we've been on this thing for a couple weeks now. And we've made a lot of progress. I'll tell you that much. We've learned a hell of a lot in the past couple weeks about how they could do this, where they'd have to do it from. But when we figure out how they physically move the cash and we cut that off, that's going to be a big blow to them. And by the way, I mean, I think that this has already been a blow to them with the amount of money that they caught today, which for those who missed the open of the show, one of the things we're talking about is the Somali cash that they're getting in there. They're starting to try and take small amounts through the airport, and they're getting caught. So, $15,000 tried to go through the airport today, and they caught it, and it was undeclared money. Now, this is important that it was undeclared because that means that they not only are they aware of what's going on, but if they're doing undeclared money, then that means they were probably doing undeclared before, and they just weren't getting caught with it. So now,
Absolutely.
with the Trump administration actually looking at this stuff and with Bessent all over it, I think that it's going to be very difficult for them to get this money out. And if we slice off that section of their money, that's even better. The more of this stuff that we catch and we stop is only going to help us in the end. I mean, so the more money it does, I don't care if it's $5,000. If you shut it off and you start catching it all across the country, it's funny because, the other day I saw, I think it was Homeland DHS said something along the lines of, we caught some fraudsters and they got like a couple grand or something on the table and something like that. I was like, well, what you should be doing is you should be in the Minneapolis airport because there's probably a Somali wandering around with $3 million in some duffel bag. That's where you should be. And then lo and behold, just a couple days later, they're catching people in the Minneapolis airport with money. So I'm pretty happy about that, to be honest with you. I'm not going to say it was me who did it because they're obviously looking at the airport. But if I had any part in that, I would be very happy to know that because I want every single one of these people to lose their money. And every time you seize that cash, I think we've got lots of good things we can do with $700 million that are good for American citizens, that are important for American citizens. And I think we should do more of those things. And less of it going to Somali fraudsters, the better for me. So I don't care how much it is. But my guess is they're starting to break up the bagmen now. That's probably what they're really doing. Now that they've been caught, and they can't bring through the $3 million duffel bags anymore. So now they got to move it down and break it up into a bunch of it. So now there's probably going to be floods of Somalis going through the airport. So just stop every Somali. Yes, profiling. I want 100% profiling on every Somali. Every Somali that goes out of the country deserves to have their bag searched and make sure they're not carrying up bars of gold, cash, anything. Oh, there's another version of this too, which is apparently, have you guys ever heard of gold thread? Gold thread is something that Indians, so gold thread is another, dresses and stuff like that is actually laced with real gold within it, and you can use it to move large amounts of money, and it makes it very difficult to see that they're worth, tens of thousands of dollars because there's actual gold in it. But, these are the things I want done. People go, oh my God, how dare you? It's so bad that you profile people. No, I am in 100% profiling Somalis at this point. Those are the bagmen. Stop every Somali going out of the country. See if he's got a few $1,000s in his bag. I want to know about it. And if he does, take it from him. Take it from him and then take it back to wherever the hell he got it from and demand that he tell us where he got it. That's what I want.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's ways around the cash thing, and there's probably gonna go to like Costco and get like gold bars or whatever and gold thread, and there's so many ways around that, and that scares me, honestly.
Well, I mean, that's the deal was when we first heard about the cash section, that's why we didn't understand it really. We're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you stupid enough to use physical cash? Like, why wouldn't you use gold or, any other platinum? something of high value that's small. Why wouldn't you do that? But no, physical dollars, you're carrying out bags of cash. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I guess the only reason you wouldn't do it is because you wouldn't want the value to change. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really sure I understand it at all, to be honest with you. But regardless, it's. I think to me, it's going to be the downfall of this whole thing is the fact that they had so much physical cash.
They should have bought silver.
There's a saying, obviously, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And there's at a point in time where you overplay your hand, which is inevitable with greed, right? You eventually overplay your hand. It's also inevitable when you're running a large scale fraud operation that once something slips, everything else starts to slip. And so we're going to see this play out. We're going to see the cover-ups. We're going to see the panic. Unfortunately, we're going to see a little bit more chaos because of this. And so, Walter, you want to go to a couple other folks?
Yeah, absolutely. Tom just came up here, so let's go ahead, Tom.
Hey, thanks a lot. I live in Minnesota, and a lot of this is near and dear to my heart. But the one thing that I think is really a irony in it, and you might have mentioned this earlier, but the law that makes it illegal to disrupt a church service was a provision that was added in when they said you can't protest abortion clinics. And so the Republicans basically said, okay, we'll let you have that law, but it also applies to churches. I don't know if you covered that earlier, but that's a pretty spicy thing, and it really nails it. That's what that whole, what is it called, FACE or whatever the law is. But that's a pretty powerful thing that it's going to be used.
Yeah, the FACE Act is very useful, and it has been useful for both the left and the right when they're in power. Both sides have used it pretty extensively, so it is actually a good thing that we have that law because it does work. I mean, it does. So I mean, and I think that this is going to be a huge problem for them because if we arrest Don Lemon, let me tell you how happy I'm going to be if we arrest Don Lemon. This is going to be amazing. If Don Lemon goes to prison, that is going to be a great day for America. Just for the comedy aspect of it alone, I think it'll be fantastic. I can't wait to see Don Lemon in handcuffs. That would be beautiful. It would just be truly gorgeous. And I'm sure he'll scream about, freedom of the press, but there's like 7 people who watch him now. So I'm not really sure how it applies to him. Does he even get a press pass? Like, does anybody watch him at all? I remember when he left Twitter, I thought that was so funny when he left Twitter because he had like this big announcement about him leaving Twitter, and he was like, so serious about him leaving Twitter, and I was like, does anybody care even remotely?
He got ratioed the high.
Yeah, like, does anybody care even remotely that he's leaving? Does anyone watch this guy? I don't know of anybody that cares about Don Lemon even remotely. To think that he's like somehow important, that he's gonna. That we care that he's, even getting any exposure at all is amazing. I mean, wasn't there something? I remember someone sent me something a while back that Don Lemon and Barack Obama had a live stream and like 100 people watched it. Did you guys hear about that? It was like the funniest thing in the world. I mean, I was like, the former president of the United States had 100 people on the live stream. That's it. Like,
well, I think
the bots must have been broken that day.
Than the program.
Oh, does he? I haven't seen. I'll tell you one thing. Don Lemon's like, I haven't seen a single clip of Don Lemon ever. That's how irrelevant the guy is. Like, clips of people usually can tell you at least a little bit how important. Like, if people are sharing clips of it, it means you're saying interesting things. Have you ever seen a Don Lemon clip? Never. The Jennifer Welch gets more clips than Don Lemon does. Like, I mean, seriously, at this point, like, I haven't seen Don Lemon say an interesting thing in his entire career. I mean, let alone get to actually be some sort of influential journalist or something.
Dude, well, did you see the clip, Walter? So Don Lemon's out there. He's got a stocking cap with his name on it. He got this creative DL logo on his microphone, like he's representing some sort of big brand. And then he starts getting surrounded by these communists, right? And they start pushing him. A guy starts pushing him, and he's like, "Whoa, man, whoa!" And they're like, "No, calm down. It's Don Lemon." He's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "I'm Don Lemon. Look, I'm Don Lemon, man. I'm one of you." They didn't even recognize it was Don Lemon.
No one recognizes him. No one knows who this dude is. I mean, listen, his entire show wasn't even that good when it was on, and now he's like an independent that no one cares about. I mean, he's like, again, this is my point. Has anybody ever seen a single clip of the guy saying something interesting? Ever? I've never seen one. I've never seen a clip of Don Lemon be like, "Oh, that was an interesting take." Even if it was a take that I disagreed with, I've still never seen one. I've never seen a clip of this guy speaking anywhere ever to anybody. I mean, this is the most coverage. This current thing is the most coverage that I've ever seen of him ever in the past like year. And not only that, the funny thing about that is the clip that went viral about him wasn't even him in the video. It was him behind the camera talking and looking into the church. That's the video that went viral. So he didn't even get a proper exposure from this clip. People found out that it was his video afterwards. They're like, oh, it was Don Lemon behind the camera. And I love it. There's TikTokers that are taking his video of him speaking and they cut a picture of his face to put it there so that you know that it's Don Lemon, because if it was just his voice, you'd have no idea, because again, nobody listens to Don Lemon and hasn't in a long time. This show probably gets significantly higher reach than Don Lemon does on a regular basis. That I can almost guarantee. I mean, that I can almost guarantee.
They need to. They
Well,
need
that-
to live stream the trial so he gets more publicity. Maybe that's
Oh, now that's a good idea. Live stream of the Don Lemon trial, live coverage of that would be the most boring trial ever. I mean, I don't have any interest in going to that. No one cares. This is the same thing that happened when what's his name? Was it Kimmel, the crying comedian that no one watches?
Yes.
Like when Kimmel was like when he did all this stuff with Charlie Kirk and he got like uber viral off that, and then people started sharing the Kimmel clips. I'm like, no one cares about this dude. Stop sharing his clips. Like no one cares what this guy has to say. Let him go back to being completely irrelevant again, because nobody watches the guy. No one shares clips of him either. No one cares about that guy even remotely. Like I don't want to watch clips of him having some half-assed monologue every other now and again. Like please. Like, let that guy go back to irrelevance. Don Lemon, when he goes to trial and is arrested, the only thing I want to view is the video of him in handcuffs. And outside of that, I don't care. I don't give a shit how his trial goes. I mean, like, just, get maximum sentence. Yay. That's about it for me. I don't care about Don Lemon.
Well, Walter, I was wondering which prison he's going to go to.
That's a good question.
Obviously.
Well, I mean, he gets to decide. Apparently, it's Minnesota. Remember that. So, he may get to decide.
I was just wondering. That's the only thing that I was wondering about.
I love it. Okay, I got to get to some hands here. Tom, you've been waiting patiently. Oh, wait, no, sorry. You already spoke before. Did you have anything else, Tom?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, all right, let's go.
Walter, really quick, just as another update, the Muslim Attorney General Keith Ellison on CNN tonight has said on camera that terrorizing a church service is a First Amendment activity.
What?
Huh?
This is on. I'll send you the clip.
Are they going to challenge the FACE Act in court? Oh my! Listen to me. If we get the FACE Act overturned as a result of this nonsense to save Don Lemon, I'm going to lose it laughing. Like if the left takes it to court to challenge the FACE Act, and we overturn the FACE Act, which, to be honest with you, I'm not sure I entirely agree with the FACE Act in the first place. For those who don't understand, the FACE Act is designed so you can't protest at abortion clinics, essentially. Please, Democrats, oblige us. Remove the FACE Act. Allow us to protest inside of abortion clinics. That will go so well for you. Oh my God. Like, that is going to be the funniest thing in the world if that's what it ends at. Don Lemon ends the FACE Act. God, I
don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think so either. But listen to me.
I just want to remind everybody about the abortion clinics, that a father and his son were outside praying in front of an abortion clinic. And I don't know the exact timing, but in the wee hours of the morning, the FBI came down and raided the family.
Oh, no, I know. I mean, listen, but again, and that was done with the violation of the FACE Act. That's what my point is. So it might, just think about it, though. If Don Lemon, to save the great Don Lemon, the irrelevance himself, the true definition of irrelevance, if they used that to challenge the FACE Act with the Attorney General of Minnesota, overturn the FACE Act to save the irrelevance himself, that would just be the peak irony. And to be honest with you, I am here for the entertainment value. So I am 100% here for the entertainment value. If we get the entertainment value of watching Don Lemon take it all the way up to the Supreme Court and actually overturn an act that they passed for their own purposes to save someone that is so irrelevant that the own protesters didn't even know who he was, God, that's going to be incredible. That is peak entertainment.
But
Walter, we
your
need
question,
to do a Roger Stone.
Really quick, to answer your question about sending the FBI. The reason why arrest warrants haven't been issued is because the courts are not open on a federal holiday. So that's part of the timing of what they did, by the way, just so we're clear. And so, but the FBI is on the ground in Minnesota, and they're sending more resources there.
So hold on, I got to read this comment. Someone just put this in the Substack chat. They said that Don Lemonhead is the Britney Spears of journalism. That's the funniest thing I've heard all day. So I really like that. At Walter Smith, thank you, sir. That is hysterical. The Britney Spears of journalism. I love it. I absolutely love it. But again, if all this happens and we manage to overturn the FACE Act as a result of Don Lemon, that's just, yes, do it, please. Like, that's almost as funny as like any stupid ass internet meme that we can come up with. I mean, that's beautiful stuff there. Beautiful stuff. Okay, hands. We got to go to hands though. So go ahead. Let's see. Roden's got her hand up. Go ahead, Roden. Roden. 3, no, 2, 1. All right. Go ahead, Jess.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, I was just watching all that. Yesterday what happened. Like it's one thing to do it and go out protesting in the streets, but when you go in the church, that's like disturbing. People are going there. That's a place of worship. That's like that's an assault. That's an attack on the church and especially the people in there. And they cross the line by doing that. And then when they're going out like that, like he was just there at the front door, like he wouldn't let the pastor leave. So he was like harassing him.
Yeah, I mean, the video and the photo of him standing there trying to ask the pastor questions. It's like, dude, like you're such a scumbag, Lemon. Like you're so irrelevant that you're pestering pastors in churches. Like, wow, what a great guy you are. I can't wait for you to be arrested for this. Everything about this is insanely entertaining, just on that level of it. Just because they're so brazen that they're going to go into people's churches, into a private space, into a private institution, into a private place of worship, and they're going to disturb these people. You deserve everything that comes to you, even if it means we have to go through 4.5 years of watching Don Lemon go through the courts to challenge the FACE Act, which will be hilarious, and I hope that happens. But even if that's the result of it, like you deserve every minute of the legal bills for that, buddy. You do, and I hope that happens. So at this end, at that end, I don't know. Don Lemon is an idiot. So. Okay, let's go. We got a couple more hands here. Go to Angel of Depth, and then we're going to go to Roden, and then we're probably out of time. Yeah, we are. Okay, go ahead, Roden. Or Angel.
I just wanted to say thank you. I have a flight, so I have to run. Thank you so much, guys. This has been incredible, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Learned a lot. Take care.
Thanks for coming on the show. Roden, go ahead. No, Roden. Roden must be sleeping. Okay, Roden fell asleep, so we're going to go ahead and end out here then, guys. I appreciate everyone who came to the show this evening. This is The Political Theater. I'm Walter Kerr. Make sure you guys follow my hosts up here. I got Jordan Daly and Chris Marino as my two co-hosts. Make sure you guys follow all my speakers. I got good speakers up here. Jack Tron is an unofficial producer for the show. He does a lot of help for me, guys, on this show. Make sure you guys follow him, subscribe to him. Anybody up here that has subscriptions available, if you want to support this show, you want to support me, this show's run completely independently, guys. We have no funders. This is just me. If you guys want to watch the video version of the show, it's always on Substack. Go to wcdispatch.com for future versions of the show and live versions of the show. Tomorrow night, we will probably be traveling. I'll probably be in D.C. tomorrow night, so there will not be a space version of the show. There will be a live video version of the show. We usually have at least one person that comes on and joins the show. Usually Chris does or somebody else does. So if you want to join the show and you want to be part of it, go to wcdispatch.com or subscribe right here on X, and we'll see you guys next time on The Political Theater. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark. Their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, it ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so. Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised heirs, no. ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones. So yeah, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. Not the theater's pawn's friend. It ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're America's steadfast one. No, we won't be spun.